Warning: the Not Real Art podcast is intended for creative audiences only. The Not Real Art podcast celebrates creativity and creative culture worldwide. It contains material that is fresh, fun and inspiring and is not suitable for boring old art snobs. Now, let's get started and enjoy the show.
Greetings and salutations, my fellow artists. Welcome to Not Real Art, the podcast that celebrates the culture of creativity. I'm your boy Sourdough.
And Man One here, chilling.
Man One in the house.
Yo, yo.
How are you, man?
Doing great.
Excellent. It's good to see you.
I know.
It's good to be seen.
It's good to be seen.
Excellent. I was sort of looking forward to sitting down today because we have kind of a cool show for our listeners, something different.
Right.
A couple of months ago, as you know, we were doing a little video production project, and we were filming over at Art Share L.A.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of the project was to sit down with our grant winners. For those listeners who may not know, we have an annual grant, Not Real Art, the grant. And last year we awarded $12,000 to 12 artists. So it's $1,000 an artist. Unfortunately, we couldn't give them $12,000 each.
Yeah.
But
we're working on that.
Well, we're working on that. We gave them each $1,000, which they were very much appreciative of.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But we did a fun little video project where we, set up a stage and like a talk show kind of like format, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we did a couple of recordings. We had a few artists on the first one and a few artists on the second one. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of release the audio as a podcast so people could listen to it. I mean, we'll roll out the videos later.
Sure.
But on this episode, I thought we would roll out the audio on the first production shoot.
Right.
Which, I did with our partner, Cheyenne Sauter, who's the executive director over at Art Share.
Yeah, we love Cheyenne.
Shout out Cheyenne. And Cheyenne and I sat down with 4 of our winners.
Right,
we had 12 winners, but on this particular recording, we had 4 of our winners sit down with us. So the first artist was Rachel O'Donnell, just a talented, vibrant, charismatic artist. Beth Abaravich, another wonderful human being who does a lot of cool stuff with fabrics and sewing and fashion-oriented kinds of artworks. Edmund Arevalo, who is Filipino, wonderful, humble, quiet, talented artist who was one of our winners. And Thony Loui from Haiti, who does a lot of really cool stuff. He's way into comic books and does a lot of comic art as well. But each of these artists sat down for this interview. And you were there that day when we were filming, right?
Oh, yeah. I was there.
Yeah. What'd you think?
It was great.
Good fun?
It was like, it was kind of like being on the set of a little talk show.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. It was
Well, we just didn't have the band. We needed the...
Yeah.
Doc Severinsen, for those people who actually remember who the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. Basically, what's his name? Questlove.
Questlove, thank you. Yes, that's who we want.
Doc Severinsen
Shout out Quest.
is the old school version of Questlove.
Yeah, that's right. So I just thought, what we'd do is we'd set this up and, we'll let our listeners hear these interviews and, sort of segue from this intro into the actual interview of those amazing 4 artists with me and Cheyenne.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, right. You want to hear that shit?
Let's do it.
You want to hear it?
I haven't heard it, so I want to hear it.
Wait, you weren't listening?
No, it wasn't.
Just like you, man.
I was just watching.
Yeah. Well, you were probably texting and answering all of your emails and shit that blows up your phone all the time.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
That's what you were doing. Well, anyway, without further ado, let's turn this over to our grant winners, these wonderful, talented, emerging, independent young artists who we love to support and help them tell their stories and promote their work. So without further ado, everybody welcome our winners, Rachel, Beth, Edmund, and Thony. Hey everybody, welcome to Not Real Art. How are you guys doing?
Great. Good.
Yeah? Are we ready to talk art and have some fun?
Always.
You guys have been amazing today. I know we're running a little late on the production. You guys have been so patient and nice. I mean, I don't deserve that. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming today. This is, as we were saying, kind of a milestone day for Not Real Art. We've never filmed our show before, so I hope this is my good side because, who knows, it's too late now. But I'm just so happy to have you guys here. I'm honored. Cheyenne Sauter from the Art Share L.A., the executive director. We're here in your amazing event space. Thank you for letting us move in today.
Thrilled to have you guys here. We're actually installing the show for you guys behind this door right here, so it's perfect time.
Well, you're with your busy schedule. Like, I can't even believe that, you were able to sit down with us, and I'm so grateful for that. Bless you. Drink some water. We have water. The Not Real Art cup there.
Is it not real water?
It's not real water. That's right. That's exactly right. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming, and I want to just take some time here. Rachel O'Donnell.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Beth Abaravich.
Very good.
Edmund Arevalo.
Arevalo.
Oh, I knew I would get it wrong. And Thony Loui.
Yes.
All right, let's jump into this. So I'm so happy to have you guys here as our inaugural class of grant winners. Yeah. This year at Not Real Art, we thought that how can we further prove our values and our ethos of helping to celebrate and elevate artists and helping to empower the invaluable work that artists do in terms of their contributions to human culture. And so Cheyenne and I teamed up to launch the grant.
And what a better organization to do it with.
Art Share L.A.
has been around.
We're literally in the house.
Literally in the presence of the creative gods right here. But we've been supporting emerging artists for about 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
We hang and support about 200 artists every year. So when Scott came to me and said, I want to make an impact on some of the artists that you're working with, it just couldn't have been a better fit.
Yeah. For sure,
for
sure.
that.
Thank you for the partnership. And it was fast, right? Like, we were getting up and running fast, and we wanted to announce winners at the conference. And so I'm guessing you guys read about it on the Art Share website, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or I think Instagram, there might have been, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Right. Now, how many grants you guys apply for on an annual basis, you think, on average? As artists?
That was my first time.
Yeah, I have to say mine too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've applied for quite a few.
Yeah, okay. So what's that like? So are there ones that you apply for every year? Are there new ones? Like, what is that journey like?
It kind of depends. I mean, I've had a few where it's like, they give out a grant yearly or quarterly or what have you.
Right.
And so you apply to those, and, sometimes it's grant specific, like it's like, this is one project I really want to do, or it's more about, just like more money to create art or even higher education, whatever it is. But yeah, it's funny because this goes into like Art Share L.A. I have applied to so many grants that when I first got the email about the Art Share Not Real Art grant, I was like, this is spam. This couldn't be real.
With a name like Not Real Art, it can't be real.
But I remember applying to it as like, I applied a lot of these and I don't hear back. Why am I hearing back? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's when you stop worrying about things that things click and work out. And I think this grant's really a proof of that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when I got there, I knew that I won a grant. Like the same day, I wasn't aware. Like when they called me, when they called me on the stage, I was like, how do they know my name? And then they called me twice, and I was like, oh wow, okay, so it's me.
You thought it was Conan O'Brien pulling another prank on you.
That would be great.
Well, Evan, how did you feel when you got the news?
It's funny because I applied to many grants, and then for this grant, it was kind of like, in a sense, last minute. I had it in my calendar to apply, and then I just totally forgot about it. Then I applied, and I was kind of like, in a sense, it worked out because I had to take initiative really fast.
Yes.
So I just got the images that I liked and then just applied, and then I get a reply later on. I'm like, no, this can't be it.
But how much of that is it where if you don't have so much time to think about it and overthink about it and think to where you've paralyzed yourself to not respond, is it better just to be like, I have to do this by 4 or I'm out?
Well, and me personally, I feel like it's better to, it's kind of like when you're getting to that point, to the end. I mean, preparation is always key, so like I'm always preparing myself and working on my art. But I feel like when it's those occasions, when it's kind of like you have to take that step, I feel like that one works out really well, like in everything that I kind of do, in a sense. Yeah.
I mean, when you sent out, and then I read the parameters of the, you know, and I thought, that's not me. You know, so many more people need support maybe than I do. And then they said, hey, why is nobody come get out here and apply to this grant, right? There's that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm just going to apply, and I'm going to be completely honest and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
Cheyenne, imagine that, an artist with a critical voice.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, I feel like Art Share and Not Real Art, we've tried to remove so many boundaries and barriers so that artists can extend their voice and have a platform to share their work. And I still hear stories where artists are paralyzed by fear or paralyzed by overthought to not put themselves out there. And, you know, bless your hearts, you guys are creating your inner voice. You're sharing your inner voice onto a canvas or whatever, however you display your creativity. And then you go one step further and you send it to us to critically, you know, judge you or examine you. Like, I get that. Fear or overthinking or, you know, whatever process you're going
it's insecurity, right? And I'm one of the most insecure people. I know people don't think, they think, oh, you know, you no, actually, there are all those voices, right? Because it's junior high school stuff. It's baggage from the playground, you know? And so, well, when it comes to grants and finding grants, are there places that artists go? I mean, are there websites? Like, how do you guys find the grants typically that you look for?
Well, there's a California, you know, Artist Council, Art Council that has some grants on there or opportunities that I always look at.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other venues, but that for sure is always something I always kind of.
So, I mean, our grant was very modest. It was a $12,000 grant. We awarded $1,000 to 12 artists, 4 of them sitting here. How did you spend the money? Did we go to Vegas? What did we do?
I wish. Like, oh my God, can you imagine? I spent my art grant on strippers.
You know, that's creative.
I did expect flowers, guys. Like candy. Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, honestly, so much of art I think that people don't really think about is making art is kind of expensive.
Yes.
And as someone who uses like oil sticks and canvas, like this little oil stick is $20. So it's like when you're using multiple of those, so it really just with supplies and buying things, because I think sometimes for me, it's not a question of I don't have ideas. It's like I have so many ideas that it's hard for me to be able to actually create them and like, you know, work at the scale I'd like to. So things like this really help you to be creative, and not only to be creative, but kind of do what you want with the money, because I think sometimes with art grants, it's like, oh, this is an art grant for watercolor artists. You may use this towards watercolor, and like, or they expect you to kind of, you know, especially more formal grants, they want you to receipt everything, especially if it's kind of like a state grant or something, you know, more government related.
Yeah.
So you have to turn a receipt. So this really kind of, you know, if you want like 3 of those like yellow ochre oil pastels, you grab those, which is like really nice and freeing for, you know, making artwork.
Right.
The grant for me, like when I got there, I was literally broke. Like I called a friend and I was like, Nicole, can you please order some food for me, because I don't have the money yet, but I'm sure I'm gonna give it to you back. And then I got there with no money and I got out with money. So I was like, wow.
It's a good day.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a beautiful story. That is serendipity.
Yeah, because traveling from Haiti and coming here, you know, I didn't plan to stay all that long.
Right.
So it was great.
That's beautiful. Edmund, how did we spend the money?
For me, it went to bills and my kids.
Right on. You better feed those kids, man.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
My son, he's 5.
Okay.
And then my youngest son, he's 6 months.
Wow, brand new.
Yeah.
Oh man, you look too well rested.
He's very calm.
That's amazing. What are their names?
Edmund Jr. and the other one is Elijah, the youngest.
Do you have 2 little artists? What are we dealing with?
Edmund Jr., every time I'm painting in the yard, he'll come out and be, hey, Dad, I want to paint with you. Can I paint with you? I'll set him up a canvas and we'll sit there together and work. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Wow. Beth?
I definitely supplies. I think I spent a lot on resin because it's very expensive.
Yeah.
But you know, it actually kind of like it gives you time, I guess. You know, like I do some side things that I, feel like I have to do to kind of justify the supplies so it kind of gives you that luxury of saying, you know what, my time's more important than that. I don't want to do that. I think I'll just focus on this.
Right. Because you guys are all full-time artists. I mean, there is no side hustle.
No, right.
Right. So,
I was saying actually, because I was a stay-at-home mom. So when you're a mom, it's like I'm doing everything. Like I'm cleaning the house, I'm feeding the kids, the dog. The dog would not if I wasn't there, oh my God. I was there for 10 days. I brought the dog with me. I mean, because I just didn't trust anybody there, So, I do things that I don't want to pay people to do because that's like kind of like my money.
Yes.
So, I thought the grant was amazing. And actually gave me, like with my other artist friends, it gave me some cachet.
Nice.
They were really, and some of them are very amazing artists, I think, but they're like really impressed. So, it's awesome.
That's fantastic. So and this is just a bigger question for the group, because I mean, part of the value of having a grant is it sort of empowers your careers, and artists notoriously, they're challenged. It's tough out there as a small business. 90% of small businesses fail. And an artist is a small business, right? So what are some of the challenges that you guys face as a small business in terms of the struggle to monetize your art and to sell through your inventory and those kinds of things?
Well, the art I make is totally, art I make is totally uncommercial. I know there's absolutely no real outlet for that.
Right.
So it just allows, like, I took some printmaking classes, and I realized that that's a nice, like, more commercial outlet that feeds right into my sculptural process. So, I don't have to answer your question, but that's where I'm trying to bridge those things and really trying to be more practical, because I think I'm inherently, when it comes to art, impractical.
Right.
So I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think another big thing is, you're lucky enough to get these jobs, which is great, and then, freelancers' burden is like trying to get people to pay you. That's a huge thing, because I've had parts, where it's like, ostensibly I have $5,000 coming to me. However, it's difficult getting people to pay you, and so kind of learning to do the business side of things, which, we're all kind of creative, so that's a learning process, and learning to, you need to invoice people and kind of keep on track of those things, and, kind of those things which you would think would be part of an accounting part of a small business. You kind of have to take that on, and, it's a lot of art. I think people think, oh, I'm just painting all day and having fun, and there's a lot of upkeep in business. You need to be, photoshopping your images so that they look great. Everything's photographed well. You need to be responding to emails and then filling out forms. Make sure you have all the sizes of things listed, so when people ask, you have all that information. It's just a lot of business upkeep, and I think, I said the other day, when applying to grants, I was like, I never thought I'd be writing this much as an artist.
Yes.
So things like that, you have to keep all of those skills on top of your creativity, like at your fingertips.
So in terms of organizing your schedule and your time, right? Because you need to be making art, right? You need to be handling the accounting and the social media marketing and all of these things. How do you guys go about scheduling your day and your week in terms of making sure that all of that business is getting handled and you're making art?
Yeah, and another point you haven't mentioned is going and seeing art, because that's like a a crucial thing, that going to openings, going and seeing art, all that stuff is it like another added layer, on top of it.
Well, on that, I mean, in business parlance, they'd probably call that networking, but also what you're talking about is research, right? And it's inspiration. You're looking for inspiration, you're going and seeing what's out there.
Right. And finding people of like mind that might be as interested in your, Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's actually a good segue, Edmund, into a question that I had for you guys as well, in terms of, being an artist is oftentimes a really lonely kind of profession, right? Because you're in your studio making work. How do you find community, Edmund, as a working artist? I mean, where do you find your colleagues, and how do you go about getting out into the world and finding that inspiration?
Well, for me, I feel like traveling helps a lot in inspiring my art. So kind of like this past couple weeks, I went to Hawaii and then I went to Yosemite, and I've been having this like urge to paint landscapes. So like I feel like, I don't know, the way I guess it's all about being free, I guess, in a sense. Yeah, that answers.
So when it comes to organizing your time, are you pretty rigorous with your schedule, or no? Are you sort of like, no, each day is its own, is revealing itself to me? And
good question. When it comes to the business side of things, like for me, I feel like having that organization, and like when I have to post or when I have to create ads or stuff like that in order to promote myself, I feel like that side of me has to have that direction, has to have like, I have like a whiteboard and I write down, I have to do this, this, and this. But at the same time, when it comes to art, it's kind of more free to me. Like I just let my hand go. And like in regards to like getting inspiration as well, like I just kind of just go on journeys, and I have to see this thing and feel this in order to be inspired to work on something, I guess.
So as an artist, do you feel a need to fellowship with other artists, or do you feel like, no, you know, I'm good?
I guess for me, because in a sense, I grew up like as an introvert, so like it's kind of hard for me to be out there and like. But I know it's a crucial part of becoming successful in the art business. Like you have to have these relationships, and you have to be outgoing and meeting people. And I kind of struggle with that in a sense sometimes. Yeah.
Sounds like an artist to me. You know, we've had these conversations before, and you know, I know some artists say, you know, but I'm not, you know, like I'm not a social person. Like I don't want to like deal with these strangers or whatever. And I'm like, it's totally okay to be antisocial. In fact, you know, like kind of feels pretty natural and normal. But like, you know, just don't hesitate. Or don't flinch when somebody asks you about your work. You know, be bold, tell your stories, you know, because, you know, if you're not tooting your own horn, right, who else is, right? Thony, so in Haiti, like, how are you finding community as an artist in Haiti?
I'm an introvert too, but I'm a people guy too. And I love working with kids. I do a lot of workshop with orphans through NGOs, which is good that I also do illustrations. And I always try to partner with an NGO to do like awareness messages that they want to promote. The community I find, it's mostly with people that I work with, or I always go to in the ghettos and talk with them, with the kids and whoever is there, because in Haiti they really like artists, so I try to inspire them however I can. I don't really go out, like I could go to an exhibit, but sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up with how things are going in Haiti. Today, everything could be fine. Tomorrow, and everything could be chaotic.
So, okay, so you guys may not know this. I learned this through interviewing Thony and learning more about him. But Thony had this kind of unbelievable experience in Haiti when Conan O'Brien shows up in Haiti, and he ends up on the show. So that was surreal. I'm guessing after your appearance on Conan O'Brien, maybe your fame in Haiti blew up a little bit.
Someone told me something right before I came to LA, and he was looking at me, and then he was like, "You don't know how famous you are." I was like, "What do you mean?" And then he was like the way you are. I was like, "I don't think about fame. I'm just doing what I love, and that's it, you know."
Yes.
And after the Conan O'Brien show, I remember another friend came at me, and I said, "Hey, how are we doing?" And then he looked at me and was like, "I thought you wouldn't say hi to me." I was like, "Why?" "Because you were in Conan O'Brien show." I was like, "But it doesn't change who I am," you know what I mean?
Yes.
And of course it helps me, especially here, because in Haiti, if you say that I've been to Conan O'Brien, I was like, "Who?" They don't know, really, you know? Yeah. It's mostly here that when I say that, and people are like, "Oh."
Sure.
And then I was like, "Oh, okay, so it's really good." You know?
Well, so that was a big break for you in so many ways. Beth, is there a big break that you've had, a moment in your career where you feel like, wow, that was a lucky break?
Well, you know, I have a really short, very short, because I was really a fashion designer before, and then I quit.
Well, you worked with Bob Mackie, no?
Yes, I worked with Bob Mackie.
So what was that like? I mean, that's a kind of an interesting career.
Because I went to Otis for fashion design, and they're known for fashion design, and I actually had a choice between Bob Mackie or Rampage. If anybody knows what Rampage is, like fast,
yes. Melrose Avenue, right?
Yeah. And so I'm just like, you know, if I wanted to make money, I would go with Rampage, because then you kind of get into that, you know, circle where you start getting connected and you know people and you work your way up the ladder. Or I could be in a really interesting place.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose Bob Mackie.
So
Who's
is
Bob Mackie?
interesting
I'm sorry.
place or douchebags? No.
You know, he's a total doll.
Yeah.
He's really, I mean, it's so hilarious. When you first meet him,
Yeah.
he wears like a plaid shirt over a t-shirt with jeans and Birkenstocks. And you're just like, wait, what? You know, I mean, like,
Emperor never has any clothes, right?
yeah, and he grew up in California, so I think, you know,
Yeah.
the casual side is, he was a fashion designer.
Thank
And
you.
he styled Cher. He's known for styling Cher. Yeah.
Right.
So,
So your background's fashion, but your journey into art was something that came down the road a bit.
right, well, you know what, my daughter's 20 now, and my son is turning 13, and I just said, about 4 years ago, I'm going to get my MFA, and I live really close to the Art Center. The Art Center was an amazing experience, but I'm just saying it was because it was close. You know, it was like very close. So, yeah, that was really I know I had the goods. I knew I had ideas. I knew I could do it, but I kept butting my head against the wall, like trying to figure it out. And then when I was around other people of like minds, like all the time, like I had never read any theory. I had never done any of that. You know, all of a sudden we're really talking about it, and it's really like you're being really fearless, because some of these people, like you guys, have been, you know, really working at art for a long time, and I was just like, I just threw myself into the wolves, and every day I was like, you know, I would be crying in my room, drinking wine in my studio. Like, you know, having studio visits with faculty. I'm like, I gotta have a drink. But, you know, I'd be crying, but then I just kept, then I'd say group and say, okay, what's going on here? What did I learn from this? What am I doing?
Yes.
And then by the third year, you know, it was like, oh my God, I found something that I can really, you know, pull from. And what's so crazy, it was like I came back home.
Right.
Because when I started there, I guess they thought I was going to be the fashion person. And I was really like, I want to explore and figure out what I want to do. I want to learn some different processes. I want to figure it out. And then about midway, I just started sewing. I just, you know, I hadn't started sewing and started knitting and started doing the things that, you know, came naturally to me, but in a different way, you know?
Right.
Your work is so beautiful, and you definitely see that there's a connection to the fashion world. There's a lot of skill inside of your work.
Yeah.
So during the process of Art Center, how much of unpacking and kind of disconnection did you have to go through in the fashion world in order to kind of unpack it and then get back into it and
Oh, it was a
reassemble?
total denial.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a total denial, but also like, you know, there's like this, being a feminine artist, working in textiles, being in fashion. I mean, there's like a stereotype of kind of, and then I had to kind of, and that was my problem. You know, the stereotype was my problem because it really wasn't there. And so I worked in resin, and I learned how to cast things, and I looked at people that resonated with me, like Linda Banglis, Isa Genskin, and Sheila Hicks, and all those people. And
I know Sheila Hicks.
and Jessica Stockholder. And I was like, there's something here that resonates with me. And I just kept, digging it. But I was total all the way away.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of the summer, after my first year, I made a really big pink dress with clear pockets all over it, and then I put toys in all the little pockets on a little tiny mannequin.
Cute.
But it was like huge. It like filled my whole studio. I was just like every kind of, and so that was like, I was like, oh, okay. This feels
Okay,
good,
right,
I guess. That's
right.
kind of where you come to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Rachel, was there a moment in your journey as an artist that was a breakthrough for you?
I mean, there was no real like lightning in a bottle type moment.
Sure.
I mean, they'll have to add that in for the biofilm. But I mean, for me,
We are in Hollywood. Yeah, it could happen.
You can call me. But for me, I've always been doing creative things. I actually went to a performing arts high school for ballet. I thought that's what was going to happen. That ended up not happening, and I started working in art because my parents ended up moving when I was in high school. So I did 2 years at this ballet conservatory. I'm like, this is what's happening. Moved, did end up finding like a dance studio, moving into that. So I started taking art classes in high school, and I just really kind of took to it. And the professor at the time was very supportive, and she's like, you know, you should really consider doing this professionally. Like, you have a good hand, and I just really enjoyed it. So I applied to art school. I got into all the schools I wanted to get into, and so I was lucky to be able to pursue that. And it's been, you know, a huge love affair that's cost me, financially, but as all good romances do. But yeah, and I've been really lucky. It's something I really love. I do it every day, and I love to consume it on every level. Like I go to a show or see new films, or I try and do that every day. My friends are all artists, so you always have this, I'm lucky to have that support and people you can talk ideas with and who understand where you're coming from. Sometimes, when you talk about art with people who aren't in a creative field, they just like, I don't get it. Why don't you just charge $4 million for a painting and never paint again? It's like, that's not how it works. And or just sell work to a rock star.
What are some of the common pain points and struggles that you and your colleagues, your other artist friends, you talk about? I mean, do the struggles, are there common struggles, or are they very unique?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's probably the same in any creative industry. I don't know actors or singers, but I imagine it's kind of similar. How to stand out and, working with certain galleries and, getting your work noticed, strategies for social media. I know that was a huge part of the Not Real Art conference, which was great. Also copywriting is a huge thing too, because I've had multiple friends, and myself included, who, all of a sudden your friends are sending you something on Instagram like, isn't that your painting? And it's all of a sudden, it's on a streetwear brand and they use your art on everything. And all of a sudden okay, well, what do? I can't afford a lawyer. Are you kidding?
Right.
So it's kind of figuring out how to combat that, and, answering emails is something always oh my God, I have 60 emails. But
well, you said earlier, right, that you're sort of surprised at how much writing you're doing as an artist. And that also is, kind of a pain point, I bet, right? If you're not used to writing, suddenly.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it's I think sometimes we were talking actually about artist statements the other day, and my friends Jillian and Kristen, they have a show at Corey Helford, and they're doing this whole show about flowers and florography, I believe it's called, but each flower has a different meaning, especially in the Victorian times. And it's interesting, it's we were talking about how when you finish the body of work, all of a sudden it kind of coalesces, and it's much easier to kind of write about it. And sometimes you kind of have to step away from the work to write about it, because we're so close to it as the person who makes it.
Yes.
So you have to be able to kind of think of it third person.
Yes.
And another thing about writing is, you talked about kind of tooting your own horn, and it's true, it's very difficult, because you don't want to be Grant winner Rachel O'Donnell is from Texas and blah, 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 blah. And that just sounds like I'm being an asshole. But you have to I tell myself, I'm writing about somebody else. It's if I had a job and I'm writing about Sally Smith and we're trying to get her a job, and you have to be able to write like that. And it's hard. I mean, I think for me, the best way to learn is when I go to these artist shows, read their artist statements and
Yeah, it's good to read other statements to kind of see what voices they choose and what you connect with.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you about your work, since you do so much writing about it.
Yeah.
Art Share has had the pleasure of hanging you twice now? Or is Not Real Art your second?
Not Real Art will be the second.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I notice in your work you do a lot of figurative, but it's distorted or dystopian figurative.
Yeah.
Almost like a melting.
Right.
What is it? Destructing fashion? Is it destructing beauty? What are you doing with your figurative work?
Well, kind of works. It's definitely kind of a deconstructive thing about the feminine. And you were talking about, feminine art and the way that's perceived, and I definitely make that a focal point of my work, because I think a lot of serious work like Art Basel or what have you, it's very dark, very gray, very masculine. So I really try to utilize those tools, those colors, because I think as an artist we all like to rebel, and I think it's important to shine light on that other visual perspective. And especially with my figures, I mean, a lot of it, one of the pieces that's going to be at Not Real Art is a self-portrait I painted of myself in what would be archetyped as, trailer trash. I have Coke can curls, and I have, a cheetah print Walmart dress, cigarette.
Specific to Walmart. I love that.
It is not from fiction. There's a lot of research. Unfortunately, not that much, because I'm from Texas. So I think a lot of it's kind of deconstructing that, and I think what's interesting about figurative work is that a lot of female portraits are done by males, which is, male identifying, but a lot of that, it kind of doesn't have as much nuance, because as a woman who creates, figurative portraits of women, you have a little bit layered view, and you have a little bit more breath. Instead of it just being a static subject, you can kind of breathe more life into it, or at least that's what I try to do with my figures. So a lot of the time it's kind of investigating, what is this monolith? Because I think, especially that series right now, we're all kind of wondering, what does it mean to be American? What does that mean for me? How do I fit into that imagery? And so a lot of those images are kind of exploring the universality of that and the differences and where things kind of intersect. And I think for me, figures have always been more interesting. I would love to challenge myself to do landscape, especially after I just came back from Massachusetts, because that's so out of my league. But I think people are interesting, so that's kind of what I gravitate to.
Edmund, you are going to start doing more landscaping.
Yeah.
And your work,
my inspiration.
I know, I love it. Your work is very abstract, but yet you kind of have this like 80s feel to you with your geometric shapes that you throw on the canvas. So how do you think your abstract is going to feed into the plein air? Are you going to keep that same 80s aesthetic?
Well, I think a lot of my work, it comes from my upbringing. I was born in the Philippines, and then I was raised here. And so what happened was there's always like this push and pull in regards to my culture and then the culture, the Filipino culture and the American culture. And so like, I feel like a lot of my work resembles that because like, there's this craziness, which is the abstract side. It's kind of like Philippines, it brings that out of me. And then the more 80s or like the more the figuratives that I'm doing relates to like me being here and learning here and what I've experienced here.
So more structure here. You needed more lines here.
Correct.
Interesting.
That's basically it. My work, a lot of it deals with like the political sense. Like right now, the one painting I have that's going to be here, it's a painting of the extrajudicial killings in the Philippines with the president. So it kind of has that relationship to that, but it also represents my uncle who was gunned down in the Philippines
sorry to hear
last
that.
year. Yeah, and that kind of like inspired me on that painting.
Was that political or was that in the streets or what?
He was actually running for like a political position as a mayor in the Philippines, and the opposition, I guess they didn't get along, and so he was out jogging in the morning, and then just happened like that.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, and I'm sure that's impacted and influenced your work. I can't wait to see that piece.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, speaking of political, it's kind of a great transition to your work. Your work is on the outset, like the first initial reaction, it's playful, it's colorful, it's exciting, there's movement, and as you get closer, you realize that there are no people in any of your paintings. It's their clothing. They're kind of like holograms or ghosts of themselves. And then you see what they're doing, and then the layers are so deep in your work. Can you talk to me about the absence of people in your work?
Well, you can interpret it in different ways, and I always say that I didn't put any skin tone in these people because a lot of times, especially in Haiti, like even a guy like black guy like me, I'm light skinned, but it's like when somebody's darker skinned than you, they already put you in a category of this in the society. So like even between us, there's racism. It wouldn't be better if you can look at the other person without looking at their skin color. If you notice in the paintings too, they have pots in their head. I always say like you can find a pot wherever you go in the world, and the pot is there to nourish your body, but they don't have any body. So I'm always reminding people that even if you don't see something, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Love, for example, you don't see it. And I always think that you can nourish your body, but you have to remember, that you have a spirit or a soul, and you have to nourish it too. And it goes with how you get along with people, the vibe that you create around you, to be kind, you know. Certain things that, like I said, you don't see them, but they exist. Like we are here together talking, and there's a good vibe, you know, it's a great, but you don't see that. But you can feel it. So, like you said, it's really deeper than what you see on the painting, because I don't show the skin. But I'm always a kid inside of me, and I always say that I want to, with my art, I want to uplift people. I want to, when you look at the painting, at least you feel a joy and love, you know. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well,
that
in
was
fact,
beautiful.
That is actually a beautiful way of wrapping up our show today. Like, that's a wonderful notion. So, thank you guys for sitting down with Cheyenne and I to talk about receiving the Not Real Art grant. And will you promise to come back in the future, and because you're part of the Not Real Art family now, right? You know, and family might be the other F word, but you know, we like to put the fun in dysfunction. So you know, please come back, and we look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday night at the Not Real Art exhibition.
Awesome,
All right.
Yeah.
We look forward to hanging it. It's going to be so exciting, guys.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode and share it with your friends on social. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to press subscribe and follow us on IG at Not Real Art Official. We appreciate the support. Sourdough out.